Hello, everybody. Welcome to what I'm calling the Tangent Dimension. Now, what the Tangent Dimension is a place for me to talk about things without having to put all the effort of writing a script and actually making a full-length video. I'm gonna try and keep these, if not under 10 minutes, at least under 15 minutes, and it's just me with my notes yapping to you, the audience. So I saw Spider-Man Brand New Day last night, and I'm a fucking shill, man. If you give me a Spider-Man movie, I'll go see it, and I'll probably enjoy it. Even the bad ones, I will enjoy. Because I love me some Spider-Man shit. In my opinion, he is immune to the superhero fatigue. Him, Batman, and Superman, the big three. It doesn't matter if they release a movie, I'm probably fucking seeing it. And this comes at a really weird time in the MCU, because they are constantly getting shit on, whether it be for all their canceled projects, their bad TV shows, or Avengers Doomsday looking like a mess. There's clearly going to be some sort of big reboot in the MCU, and that shadow does loom over their projects. But if the MCU ship is sinking, then at least the band on the Titanic is playing fucking Mr. Brightside, because that's what this movie feels like. It's super fun. It's... Is it the best Spider-Man movie I've ever seen? Well, no, of course, the Spider-Verse movies exist, but outside of those, maybe? Spider-Man Homecoming and Spider-Man 2 pretty much are on equal footing for me in terms of the best live-action Spider-Man movies, and honestly, this might take the cake. I want to start off with how the movie looks and everything. It looks great. It's so refreshing to see a superhero movie, especially an MCU movie, that doesn't look like complete dog shit. The suit looks great. It looks properly homemade. There's also a lot of commitment to practical effects and like wire work and like stuff like that for the action, and that's really, really important for this story specifically, because this is the most relatable Peter Parker, Tom Holland's Peter Parker, is supposed to be. So I kind of need to be able to physically see him interacting with people of New York, and they do that. So yeah, this is like the best I think a live-action Spider-Man movie has looked. Again, Homecoming and the Raimi trilogies also look great, but I think Brand New Day might take the cake. Going into the actual movie itself, the whole thing is wrapped around Peter being a sad, broke boy. His life sucks. He has no friends. He doesn't appear to have a job. I'll touch on that in a bit, but he is fully in Spider-Man mode, which is interesting, because usually in stuff like Homecoming and Spider-Man 2, the dynamic is Peter Parker throwing away Spider-Man and then accepting that role back into his life towards the end of the movie. But this is kind of the opposite, because Spider-Man is taking up all of Peter's time. There is no Peter Parker, really. And by the end, he has to accept to actually, have friends so he doesn't go fucking insane, because all of this bad mental health is fucking up his Spider-Man senses. He's becoming more and more bug-like because he has no friends. It's a fun way of doing the whole Peter's body changing thing without having to introduce, like, the symbiote or anything. And with sort of Peter having to relearn how to be Spider-Man with the organic webs and the heightened senses, this kind of feels like an origin story, in a way. Not a full-on origin story, but it feels like this is the first Spider-Man movie. I genuinely think that if you reworked a couple things, I could see a world where this is the start of, like, the rebooted MCU, Like, taking what works, keeping it, but kind of resetting things back to square one, because Peter is what you kind of want him to be, or what Spider-Man fans want him to be. In his 20s and sad. Spider-Man fans hate Spider-Man and don't want him to be happy. And it works. It's great. I think this is the most likable Tom Holland Spider-Man has been, again, since Homecoming, where so much of his likability in Homecoming was that movie basically just being like a teen comedy movie starring a superhero, which is why I like that movie. But um, this is this is great as well. Uh, the movie does touch on something that they don't actually really develop or follow through, but I do think it's interesting mentioning is that Spider-Man's kind of like LARPing a sad 20-year-old, you know? They point out that, like, his room looks like he has empty coffee cups and ramen cups because he thinks he's supposed to, because he's a broke boy. Which is like an interesting sort of commentary because so many online Spider-Man fans just want that sort of sad Peter always in his 20s never changing thing, and um, they were definitely very vocal during the home trilogy of, not my Spider-Man. Well, this movie kind of mentions, almost flirts with touching on it, but doesn't really. I would like to see that sort of explored more upon. I mean, he has protein powder on his shelf. Fucking why does Spider-Man have protein powder there? Whatever. It's not the focus of the movie, which is fine. The focus of the movie is on sort of the ramifications of the last movie. Spider-Man has nobody. He has nothing. He has nothing except for Spider-Man. And this movie really tries to rebuild Peter and his interactions with other people. He interacts with a lot of fucking superheroes in this movie, and I think it really strikes a good balance between the solo Spider-Man storytelling that we're here for and broader, like, MCU interactions. It's very comic booky, it's very, very 90s Spider-Man cartoon, where the focus is completely on Spider-Man, but then also he hangs out with the Punisher, and also he hangs out with Hulk, and Black Widow, and stuff like that, and all the interactions are really fun. The Black Widow stuff is really fun. John Bernthal is the goddamn MVP of the movie. He is incredible as Punisher. I mean, he's always incredible as Punisher, but in this movie specifically, as just a complete, just fully leading into the comedic side of the character, which, is kind of what a lot of Spider-Man stories that have other characters in it do, is that they kind of, when you enter a Spider-Man story, you become a bit more comedic. It's very funny, contrasting this Punisher versus the Punisher we see in the Netflix show and everything. Also, getting to see the Hulk is nice. Getting to see him do stuff is great. I really like it. I like having my boy back. They've butchered the Hulk, and which is a damn shame because I think Mark Ruffalo is the definitive Bruce Banner character. I think he's excellent. But he hasn't gotten to do shit. And then this movie he does. Not for a lot, but he does do stuff. A lot of people will not like the pacing. It is approaching 2.5 hours, but for me, I'm fine with it. A lot of what extends the runtime is Spider-Man interacting with MJ and Ned, and talking about his feelings. And I like that stuff. Any excuse to spend a little bit more time in the world of Spider-Man, I'm fine with, but I know for other people it will seem a bit too long. And speaking of the Ned and MJ stuff, it hits really fucking hard. The emotional beats hit really hard, especially with MJ. There's an incredible bit of performance from Zendaya where she's mind-controlled and sort of tricks Spider-Man into thinking she remembers him. And it fucking hurts. It stings. So does the big reveal moment for her finding out about Peter Parker. It hurts, and it's understandable, but it's inevitable, but it's still really sad. Did not tear up with it. Did tear up at a later bit in the movie, but we'll get into that, because it has to do with the main villain of this movie, Jean Grey. Jean Grey is the villain of a Spider-Man movie. What a weird thing to say out loud. But I think it works. Jean Grey, as a character, has always just worn many, many hats. She's been just a damsel in distress. She's been just like a love interest. She's been the emotional core of stories. She's been a fucking villain, So I think if they're doing this sort of incorporating mutants in as a villain thing, I think Jean Grey is probably the best character to do it with. I don't think this would have worked as well if it was someone like Storm or Cyclops or whatever. And it's played by Sadie Sink, who I think we all knew was going to be playing Jean Grey. Marvel tried to, keep it a secret, but like, it was obvious all along it was going to be Jean Grey. And her performance is good. Good, I think. I think when she's playing the pure villain role, it's a little spotty, a little emotionless, a little boring, but when she's back into, like, being sympathetic with, like, her backstory and everything, it works. And also, the ending of this movie, or not the ending, but how the movie sort of wraps up the conflict is fucking beautiful. It is Jean Grey going inside of Peter's mind and getting a conversation from Aunt May. And, like, Spider-Man saving the day by showing the same love to someone that Aunt May showed him. That's peak. That's peak Spider-Man. I'm sorry, fuckers. I'm sorry, Raimi fans and Andrew Garfield fans. That's Spider-Man. That's the most Spider-Man shit I think there's ever been in a movie. And it's beautiful. And then Punisher fucking caps Peter. Yeah. It's great. It hits. Everything hits in this movie. Even, like, the comedy. Even, like, the funny stuff. It never steps over the line or anything. It all works. I think there's one critique I have with the film, and it's literally the last minute. It's like the last scene of the movie, which involves Peter doing the handshake with Ned, and that bringing back Ned's memories of Peter, and that's where the movie ends. And it's like, I don't like it. The logic version, the logical critique is, why the fuck does that bring back that? Why does doing a handshake, fuck up a magic spell? That's one thing. That's it's a comic book movie. I can get around with that. What fucks it up for me is that the whole point of this movie has been about Spider-Man moving on from his past life, finding new people in his life, new friends, and finding that sort of joy that he used to have. And it's about moving on, right? Because that version of Peter we've had the past 3 movies doesn't exist. So he should be gone. But then to have Ned remember Peter, it's like that. The whole theme is him moving on, and at the end it's like, nah, we're back, baby. And it's like, that ruins the theme, That's stupid. I don't like that. And I get you want to have Zendaya in the next Spider-Man movie because every movie she does makes a fucking bajillion dollars, but I don't know. That part did irk me, and I really think that's the only part of the movie that I, like, seriously do not like. Because the rest of it is great. It feels like pure comic book, in a way that, like, most MCU movies don't do. I think this is the best MCU movie since Guardians of the Galaxy 3, and before that, like, fucking Infinity War. It is truly an accomplishment, and I think it might be my favorite Spider-Man live-action movie. So yeah, I'm giving it a 9 out of 10, honestly. A number that probably will go down to an 8, or fuck it, maybe even a 7 with time and rewatches, but this is the tangent dimension. This is where I'm just yapping. And boy, oh boy, have I yapped. So yeah, it works. It's great. Go see it. Spider-Man's awesome. Fuck you. Goodbye.